This is Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily with Andrew Hustler Paterson and Michael Remis.
Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome to a Thursday edition of Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. Andrew Paterson, Michael Remis with you. We've got a lot of Jets talk coming up for you today. Coming off a hell of a fun hockey game to watch last night. Didn't end up with 2 points for the Winnipeg Jets. They did get one in a shootout loss in a raucous Bell Center last night. We're going to dive into the game last night. We'll hear from Coach Scott Arneal, Mark Scheifele as well. Ken Wiebe will join us with his thoughts on the Jets and where they're at as they come back today. Not after the game last night. Interesting to note, normally, you would have the team get on the flight afterwards and come right home when you're coming off a road trip. This is basically like a road trip that continues through the weekend, and Winnipeg is just one of the stops on this trip. Because, of course, the Jets play tomorrow, an early game, 6 o'clock. I didn't even know that. I saw that today in the media chat. They were talking about is the morning skate earlier. I'm like, what are you talking about? Game's at 6 tomorrow. So heads up everyone on that, especially if you got tickets to get down to Canada Life Center. But the Jets stayed in Montreal last night, traveling back today, not on the ice, no media availability, and then back at it tomorrow against the team that waxed them on Monday night, the Buffalo Sabres. They'll get a chance for a little bit of a revenge day tomorrow at Canada Life Center. And then after the game, it's right back out on the road for a Saturday night game against the Edmonton Oilers, who are in action tonight and will be off tomorrow, kicking back, watching the Jets play in Winnipeg, and they get ready to host them on Saturday. Ken, we will pop on. We're also going to have JP Vigier. And we'll get Vigier's thoughts. He, of course, great hockey mind. He's been paying attention to what's up. We'll see if he's got any answers to how the heck this team can get some second line or secondary scoring, I should say. Second line, we'll take the third line, fourth line, anybody other than the Scheifele-Connor Velarde line, who was incredible last night, accounting for all of the Jets' offense. But let's face it, none of that matters if Eric Comrie doesn't play the way that he did last night. So we will get to all of that coming up. And, I'm going to bring this up with Michael Remis. But I said yesterday on the program, if this game last night goes really poorly for the Winnipeg Jets and they lose again, we're going to see everything blown up for Friday's game. Well, they didn't win. They got a point. They didn't lose in regulation. And you watch that game last night and you're like, how the heck do you split up that top line with the way that they're playing? So, I'm not sure whether this just kicked the can down the road for one day or the fact that they weren't able to generate anything. And again, we're going to hear from Scott Arneal. I think he was positive on the way that the bottom three lines played. A little bit more ozone time, better play defensively. But again, I guess the big question is and I'll put this to you all right now. Why not question of the day for not Autocorp, but Waverly and McGillivray? If Eric Comrie doesn't play the way he did last night, and we're talking about a 4-2 loss, how different is the mood around Jetsville today? Like we've said all year long, what really kills you is the regulation losses. And I believe yesterday at the start of the show, I did say this game has overtime written all over it. And it certainly did in the last 2 minutes. So much talk about 3-point games and why it would be a benefit to the National Hockey League to have regulation wins worth 3 points. Well, you saw it last night. These were two struggling teams that absolutely needed a result. And there was a lot of just holding the puck up on the boards in the final 2 minutes, making sure that these teams got to overtime and each got their point to just settle the tone a little bit. So listen, we're going to get to all of that coming up, but I am interested in your thoughts on, did Eric Comrie sort of save the Jets from a worse fate? And how different would our conversations be today if this team had another regulation loss on them? That being said, give us your thoughts on the game as well. Just before we bring in Michael Remis, big thanks to all of our sponsors that make WST happen each and every day. Of course, our partners at Coolbet Canada. We will do WST winners tomorrow at 10 a.m. Myself, Pat, and Jake. And Pat will join us on the show tomorrow with more details on the WST poker tourneys. We've added a few qualifiers, and we are giving away a trip to Costa Rica for the Costa Rica Poker Festival. I'm going to be there. Jeff Hamilton is going to be there, and you could be there too if you qualify in the top three in one of the three qualifier tournaments next Wednesday, the 10th, Monday, December 22nd, and I believe it's a Wednesday, January 7th. And then the final tourney is on the 12th. Winner of that will be going to Costa Rica 2 weeks later on the 26th. So Pat will join us tomorrow in the program to get to all of that. Of course, our friends at the Winnipeg Jets tomorrow, South Asian Heritage Night, Jets Buffalo Sabres, 6 p.m. And don't forget winnipegjets.com/WST if you want to pick up tickets for the January 9th game in our section with the Kings, or the rematch between the Jets and the Montreal Canadiens on February 4th. Last game before the Olympic break. And I'll tell you what, regardless of the history of the Montreal Canadiens, if that game on the 4th is anything like last night, that'll be money well spent to get into the building for that one. So again, winnipegjets.com/WST for that. Also want to thank Princess Auto, Clean Line, Plumbing, Heating, and Electrical, Manitoba Battery, Chud's Power Sports, Canadian Club, St. Vital Dental, Rowley's Transfer, Uptown Alley, fansfirst.ca, Little Brown Jug, Boston Pizza, and Royal Sports. Welcome to everybody in chat. Shout out to all you podcast listeners. Been loving getting all the feedback on where WST ranked in your Spotify Wrapped. Make sure to send those in as you get them. And let's welcome in the man himself, Michael Remis. Remo, what's going on?
Hey, feeling good here on a Tuesday. Sorry, Thursday. Thursday. Jets, shootout loss yesterday, but looking ahead to a busy weekend, Thursday Night Football. And it's nice on Thursday. You can sit back, watch the whole slate of games, and not have to worry. We did have a couple late ones, surprising results last night for sure. But we're here talking about the Jets, and it was a better effort. Didn't get the result, but hey, you didn't take a penalty like 2 minutes in and go down 2 goals right away. And I got to say, what an exciting game, and what a joy it was to watch that top line on those goals. That Kyle Connor goal was just the play leading up to it and the shot. It was all beautiful. It was great.
Well, I mean, listen, and the play that Connor made on Scheifele's goal, I tweeted out, that's a candidate for assist of the year. I mean, the speed that he used to get past Noah Dobson, who's no cement shoes himself, and then work the puck. He worked so hard to get ahead of that guy, grab the puck, and then the spin around backhand pass to Mark Scheifele was brilliant. As I say, we'll talk to Ken about this, and I know there's been a lot of talk, and I myself said, if they don't win this game, and again, I don't know how we classify this. I don't feel like last night was a loss. To me, it's sort of a tie. And if you win, it's sort of, a 2 points with an asterisk. Did you beat a team in 60 minutes? No. Did you get 2 points? Yeah. So, if this was a bet, it feels like a push, which is better than a loss. So I don't know. I will throw this out to everyone. If you were with me yesterday and thought that they didn't win, does this change? Or is this one more game of this, and then if they can put it together and move forward? Where are you at on that, Remo? Because, as we said, if we had another ugly performance, I think you would say that that's the only thing that the coach has left to do right now with the string that they're on. But as we'll hear from Scott Arneal, there was a lot more positive plays for the Winnipeg Jets. They hung there. They went toe-to-toe with Montreal. But was this goaltending saving a worse fate when the same things are happening? Your top line's only scoring and no one else is getting going? Or as we heard from the coach and we will hear, was there enough positive from what happened in the bottom 9 to not go to the nuclear option before tomorrow's game against the Buffalo Sabres?
Yeah, I'm looking at the Money Puck deserve to win meter. They have it at Montreal 64%, Winnipeg 35%. Maybe that's a bit more than my internal deserve to win meter had. Eric Comrie was excellent, though. I had to make so many good saves, and they needed a game from him like that. Hadn't been at his best during the stretch here without Connor Hellebuyck. They finished the road trip at 1-3-1. I think you'd like to have that number a bit better, but the bottom lines, I don't think they were generated a ton. I thought in overtime, especially Nemestikov had a glorious one to end it, and Jonathan Toews trying to set up his line mates, not able to finish. You do wonder, if they do break up this top line, will you have 3 lines that can't score, or 4 lines that can't score instead of 3? Because that top line is rolling. They rely on them so much for all the goals. I think there is some fear of the unknown, but you got to try it at some point, and you haven't really been getting the success here. But when it works, it looks incredible. Connor Scheifele, Velarde on those goals that we mentioned, and overtime as well. How Connor Scheifele, Morrissey, how they protect the puck, trying to end it, not able to. I think you push it. We'll see how you go in the rematch against Buffalo. And I do appreciate this comment from, I believe it was Stonewall Dave, says it was better, but only matters if tomorrow is better again. And I agree. You want to see that incremental improvement. You don't want to keep going one step forward, two steps back like you saw from Nashville to Buffalo.
Yeah, listen, there's some good stuff right now in fan feedback. We'll do that brought to you by our friends at Fans First, fansfirst.ca, your number one spot for buying and selling Winnipeg tickets on the resale market, where what you see is what you pay. No added fees. Peace, Love, and Hockey said maybe last night was a step in the right direction for them to get back gearing on track and the newbies to learn the system better. The Whaler last night did nothing to change my outlook for the team. That point hangs on Comrie playing his best game by miles. Boba Jet, Huss loving the loser point is kind of funny. Well, I love it a lot more than 0. And the Jets have lost in regulation 12 times this year, which is right there at the top of the National Hockey League. Those are tight. Now, what did Nick say? God, yeah, Nick Lyman. Comrie bailed their asses out. And I can't really dispute that. That was the one thing, Remis. If you look back at the first period, and if Eric Comrie doesn't make 2 or 3 spectacular saves, the Discord people are probably freaking out at BP that were down there with the IC guys last night going like, this is happening again. Like, this was not a really, really clean game. I do think that after the first period, they were better at not leaving their goaltender out to dry. But if we just had an average performance from, a backup goalie in the NHL, the Fires could be even more so. So, it's very difficult because at the end of the day, you want this team to be moving forward. And I will say they played way better than they did against Buffalo. But when that bar is so low, it's kind of like, what are we talking about here?
Yeah, I agree with that, Hustler. And Eric Comrie, we just put the numbers up, 29 saves, 935 save percentage, 2.36 goals saved above expected. And he was due for a game like that. It had been a couple rough ones. And, they got the point. They hadn't got too many, but certainly a rough stretch. Interesting to note that they did stay in Montreal overnight, flying home today ahead of the 6 p.m. I'm guessing because they play, late Saturday. You have to have a certain time between games. But we'll have to see if they can build on it, Huss. I think that's the thing. It was nice, but it wasn't 2 points. And, they showed this during the broadcast, just how far behind the Jets have fallen the last month as Minnesota and Colorado.
Oh, Rennie.
And
you know
Dallas.
that Rennie was the one that gave the truck that. And he was very, very happy afterwards that his stats went on. I was going to say it's shocking. It's not really shocking. I mean, if you play at the rate that the Jets have played for the past month, and meanwhile, the other teams in your division never lose, that all adds up. And, yeah, it's something like a 17-point swing by both Colorado and Minnesota. And Dallas, it's like 14 points, from where they were at the beginning of the month of November. So, as I say, it could have been worse. And Eric Comrie made it happen. The top line was phenomenal. Well, listen, let's get to Scott Arneal. I'm interested to hear what people have to say. But again, keep on your thoughts coming in. We'll have more fan feedback throughout the show. Brought to you by Fans First, by fans, for fans, no fees. Check out the site today at fansfirst.ca. So the Jets get a loss in a shootout. They get 1 point. It's their first loser point of the season, now to 13, 12, and 1. And as we mentioned, a pretty ugly 4-9-1 in their last 14 games after the nice 9-3 start. Arnie and Scheifele were positive after the game. Let's start off with the coach. Here's what Scott Arneal had to say after the Jets' 3-2 shootout loss in the Bell Center.
That was night and different than the other night. Our complete level, our execution, just the way we did it. I don't think we gave up any odd man situations. If we did, we were very limited compared to last game. We did a great job. Not only our forwards, getting over top of people, tracking back. Larry D did a great job with their gaps, and that was a battle of two good goaltenders. Goalish and Comrie, both goaltenders made some big steps, and there was a lot of different looks for each team. And at the end of the day, I'm not happy how I would like the 2 points, but I'm happy with our effort.
That overtime.
All right, so there's Scott Arneal a little bit. I don't know what was up with the audio on that one. We're going to see if we can get that one fixed. But he thought the effort was a lot better, and I guess that is true. But again, when the efforts of just about all of you so far today, doing whatever the heck you've been doing, I'm sure we're better than what we saw Monday night. As I said, the bar was really low for them to come back from. The challenges right now for the Winnipeg Jets, as has been beaten to death on this program, is to find some guys other than 81, 55, and 13 to create offense and score goals. And I will say there was more action in the Montreal end, but again, it wasn't like the Jets just locked it down. I mean, I think the defensive play was, it was much better than it was in Buffalo, but again, very, very low bar. We'll see whether tomorrow night the Jets look like they've taken another step forward, far, far away from the performance on Monday. But I do wonder at what point they get to a situation, Reem, where they, say, okay, you know what, Kyle, you're playing with a couple other guys. Mark, Gabe, here's whether it's Cole Perfetti or, that's the other thing. Who's the guy that's like, oh, we need to get this guy some more ice time and get him up with the big guys? Like, I don't know who that is. Sometimes you're doing it to try to hopefully spur it in another way. That's the big conundrum. And we'll hit that with JP Vigier as well as Ken Wiebe a little bit later on. You want to get back to the coach?
Yeah, I think it's ready to go here.
All right, sounds good. Well, here's a little bit more of Arnie just with his thoughts tonight.
You guys are always kind of going for the win anyways. Like some teams maybe play for a shootout, but you guys are pretty aggressive, right? So they were as well. So.
I'd say they do the same thing. So there's a lot of skill on the ice. There was a lot of skill both ways. So some real good looks. And again, the goaltenders, had to be ready. And there was actually a few that were real close that some broken sticks happened both ways. So it's just kind of the way it went.
All right, I'm not sure whether you guys heard that or not. Clip issues today with what's happening with the coach. But listen, for people that heard it before, we'll try and maybe squeeze it in later on if we've got it properly. But the coach certainly went and portrayed this one as a real positive step forward. And I guess when you get some sort of result, you can do that. But I'll be honest, I mean, that deserved to win a meter stat that you just threw out, I think that is pretty accurate. I mean, to me, and I know the high danger chances, like I'm losing a lot of faith. I will be honest. I'm losing a lot of faith. Not that I had a ton to begin with on how a lot of this information is compiled. Because, like, I mean, I think the high danger chances were basically tied last night in the number. I think it was one up for either the Jets or Montreal, which wasn't really the way I saw that game. I mean, if you're thinking about 10 Bell saves, I thought Comrie made way more than Dobish had to do. But again, they were generating some shots and getting on. A couple things I do want to mention from that game that, you know, aside from just how fun it was chaos at times, all the broken sticks and the back and forth. Adam Lowry last night, you know, at a time, Remis, where I thought that the Jets were sort of under siege at the start of that game at times when Comrie was making those saves. The hit that he laid on Carrier was, I mean, listen, that was Dustin Byfuglien-esque. I mean, the amount of power, and he just blew that guy up. And of course, with it being the NHL, you make a really hard, clean hit. Oh, you got to fight the tough guy on the team. Now, Xhekaj was on the ice, and it sort of happened naturally, and Adam Lowry's not going to back down from anyone. You had to be impressed with, you know, the example that the captain was leading by last night. And then, as we mentioned, just some straight-up magic by that top line, which, of course, probably makes it even harder for them to go away from that line because it is the only thing going right now for the Winnipeg Jets when it comes to the scoreboard, which is where you win hockey games.
Man, for a Wednesday night game after that hit, it really had the intensity. Adam Lowry dropping Carrier behind the net reminded me of Dustin Byfuglien when he flipped Mikael Granlund, just a big guy on a smallerish guy near the board, sent him flying. And yeah, it was like, Lowry, he's the captain. I know he drops the gloves, but I didn't think he really should have there. I guess you want to defend your guy, and I did see a comment from waiters and chat saying, where was the instigator penalty? It was a clean hit. You shouldn't have to fight after every time you hit a guy. But I thought the intensity was certainly ramped up at the Bell Center. You know, we didn't get it on the Sportsnet broadcast, but they did have another ceremony for Andrei Markov. You know, 2 ceremonies in a week. Pre-game, the Jets have had to watch. I know there will be one coming up in the upcoming weeks for Nino Niederreiter's 1,000th game.
Guess who again, Stream?
He's playing.
The Washington Capitals. Every time the Jets go to Washington, they have a 20-minute Ovechkin ceremony for some milestone that he's just achieved. We get to pay. I hope that the Jets do a 25-minute 1,000-game ceremony for Nino and make sure the Caps are all out to watch the entire thing on Saturday. Joking aside, he is at $9.95, and that is scheduled to be, I believe, if we're counting right, his 1,000th game on home ice at the arena. So, that'll be great. But yeah, Lowry, I mean, the heart and soul of this team, doing everything that he can to pull his team kind of into the fight, to use an old Paul Mauriceism. One other thing from last night's game that I do want to mention, Reem, and I'm loath to say this, and you won't hear this from me very often, but I got to give it to Habs fans. Like, the atmosphere in that building on a Wednesday night was incredible. I know they were all there for the Markov ceremony. And, you know, I was lucky enough to be in Montreal it was one of the Grey Cups. And it was Patrick Roy's jersey retirement night. And we went there early. It was an hour and a half ceremony. It was true. It was really well done. But the reason I bring up the Habs fans is that they are real ones. And they remember. And I was impressed that they still booed the hell out of Mark Scheifele every single time he touched the puck. They have long memories. Real hockey fans have long memories. And they're not letting the hit on Jake Evans go from the playoffs, was it 5 years ago? Anytime soon. And to be honest, I think that gave Scheifele a big, some real jump in his game as well. knowing that there were 20,000 plus all over him every time he made something happen, and he made a few pretty sweet things happen along with Kyle Connor and Gabe Vilardi.
Yeah, the part of you like the engagement, but it was a while ago, Huss. I agree with Eagle Eyes in chat. Booing him after 4 years, let it go. It was a clean hit on Jake Evans there. It was shoulder to shoulder, okay? He was trying to stop a goal. Let it go.
You know what? Hey, this is something that when you have a guy that's public enemy number one, for whatever reason, I guess what I'm saying is Jet fans, like when Ryan Hartman comes to the arena in 2 or 3 years, remember what a weasel that guy is and have that same energy. I see no reason for them to lay off Scheifele. We all have his back. But anyways, that's what makes Montreal what it is. Incredibly knowledgeable hockey fans that remember the history between them and all of their rivals, even a team like the Jets, where you don't see very often. And to me, it just added more to the atmosphere, which was phenomenal for an early season Wednesday night hockey game between two teams in different conferences.
Scheifele was suspended for 4 games. Like, has there even been a suspension close in playoff history?
I'm not defending it. I think it's BS. I mean, we've talked about it for years. I just mean, if I'm a Habs fan,
they swept the series. They should be thanking Scheifele. They should be cheering him. They swept that series. The highlight was Logan Stanley's 2-goal game.
That's right.
They dominated that game 4. It was horrible.
I had the funniest, we were talking about the pandemic and just like the playoffs, and we're like, who won? And like, whoa, that was in August. And you're just going through all this crazy stuff from that period of our lives that people want to forget. Jet fans, like, will always hang on to and remember the 4-game sweep of Edmonton. No one remembers that there. And to be honest, it wasn't until they started booing Scheifele last night, and I'm like, oh yeah, we did get swept by Montreal in the playoffs, didn't we? Although I can tell you everything about the 4-game sweep of Edmonton. Kind of funny how we pick and choose the things that we like to we like to hang on to. Anyways, listen, let's get to. We've got a lot coming on today. Ken's going to join us, and I'm interested to see what Ken has to say about where this team goes from here. As I say, like, overall, better than a regulation loss. I mean, to me, it sort of pushes the can down the road a little bit. You don't lose as much ground, but it's time to win some hockey games. And this schedule over the next little bit is really going to test the Winnipeg Jets. Buffalo tomorrow, in Edmonton Saturday night, couple days off, and then, what is it, Dallas, Boston, Washington, and the final game of the road trip, the homestand, it escapes me right now, Remo. What's on the 15th, Ottawa. That'll be the next prime game. So some better teams that they've been playing and not doing as well against are coming up on the schedule. Listen, Remo caught up with Carlo Colaiacovo earlier today. We're going to have that for you coming up right away. Before we do that, folks, holiday time is here. Planning to head out, have some great times with friends and family or folks from work. Think about heading down to Uptown Alley at 1301 St. Matthews Avenue. If you haven't been to the new Uptown Alley, it is an incredible spot for parties, gatherings, or just heading out with some friends for a great time. Incredible bowling opportunities. You got 5-pin, 10-pin. There's also laser tag, an amazing arcade, wild games where you win tickets that you can exchange for prizes to take home, and incredible food and beverage options that will blow you away. They got the amazing birthday party setups for kids, for teens, and for adults. And if you're thinking about a group or a corporate event or something maybe for work, you just simply let them know what activities you want to do, what you want to eat or drink, any add-ons, and then their event staff will take care of everything else. If you want to plan an event, hit them up at 488-0000. You can check them out online at uptownalley.ca. And while you're at it, think about gift cards for the holidays. A great stocking stuffer, the gift of good times from the place that is always a good time, Uptown Alley, over on St. Matthews Avenue. Folks, if you have a move coming up in 2026, hit up the gang at Rolly's Transfer to help you out with that and take as much of the stress out of it as possible at an always stressful time. Hey, Rolly's has been doing it for over 60 years. Family owned and operated, and the most trusted name in moving in Manitoba, period. Check out their site at rollies.com. You can hit that request an estimate button, put in the promo code WST for a special discount on moving services and moving supplies, and then let them know when and where you're moving, what needs to be moved, and our friends at Rollies will turn around quickly with a great quote and get you locked in for the white glove treatment that Rollies is famous for now into their 7th decade. For all your moving needs, make it Rollies Transfer, the most trusted name in the game. Find out more today at rollies.com. Our friends at St. Vital Dental Center wish you all a happy holidays. And if you do have dental needs in the month of December into the new year, why don't you head on down to see our pal Dr. Terry and his amazing staff at their awesome new facility at 167 St. Anne's. Convenient free parking right behind the building, and a full array of dental services that have been serving generations of Winnipeggers. But they'll take care of your cleanups, or your cleanings, or checkups, all the way to things like more complicated oral surgeries and dental implants. They do it all at one place, 167 St. Anne's. Check them out online at stviteldental.ca. Book an appointment. If you're lucky enough, you can maybe get in on Friday afternoon and watch the marble race while you're in the chair. But definitely tell them that your boys at Winnipeg Sports Talk sent you. And hey, speaking of the holidays, before we bring Carlo in, many of you heading into the weekend and into the holidays will be popping by your Manitoba liquor marts. Make sure to check out the Canadian Club display. Of course, there are still limited quantities left of the Winnipeg Blue Bomber Special Edition labeled bottle of Canadian Club, the official spirit of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, and the iconic Canadian whiskey since 1858. And speaking of holidays, right now, both at the liquor marts and at beer vendors, keep your eyes out for the Canadian Club Cranberry Ginger Ale, limited edition just in time for the holidays. The great taste of Canadian Club whiskey, ginger ale, and cranberry, all in a ready-to-drink cocktail that is perfect for the holidays. Just crack it, pour it on ice, and your guests and you will absolutely love it. Available in 4-packs and in 473-milliliter singles at Manitoba liquor marts and beer vendors. That is the Canadian Club Cranberry Ginger Ale. Already getting great rave reviews on it from people in the WST chat. All right, Ken Wiebe coming up in a bit, but a little earlier this morning, after First Up in Toronto, Remo was able to catch up with our pal Carlo Colaiacovo for a little hockey talk. Here it is.
Carl, how's it going? Thanks so much for taking the time to join me here today.
Hey, Mikey, what's happening? Thanks for having me. Should be an exciting night of hockey.
Yeah, it should be pretty good. We're coming off a Winnipeg Jets loss to Montreal. Bit of a tough road trip here so far. Missing Connor Hellebuyck, and the Winnipeg Jets right now just out of a playoff spot. What have you seen from the Jets so far this season?
Well, clearly they've been struggling to find some depth scoring. I mean, Adam Lowry finally came back into the lineup. I know he missed the early part of the season. You're learning what life is like without Connor Hellebuyck. And they're having a hard time scoring goals outside of their top line. So, it's been a sort of a tough start for the Jets, but I mean, I think you can say that about a good majority of the NHL teams, where unless you're the Colorado Avalanche, every team's had to deal with a little bit of adversity here and a little bit of, patience with, navigating through new lives without certain players. And for Winnipeg right now, I thought the game they played last night in Montreal was a solid one. I probably think that they deserved to win that game. But even with guys like Comrie and Milic in the net, like these are all new experiences for them. And you just got to find a way to tread water here and hope that with each game and, with each new opportunity that everyone's going to gain a little bit more confidence and they can rely on, what they've counted on in the past in winning a lot of hockey games. And that's their identity of being tough to play against and being a good defensively structured team. And I think without Hellebuyck in that, there's been an adjustment.
For sure. And, they had that game against Buffalo earlier this week where it did not go well. Captain Adam Lowry held a players-only meeting. Have you had experience in your career with players-only meeting, and how much can it give them a boost and maybe a refocus?
Well, players only meetings don't happen if things are going well, right? So players only meetings happen when you feel like you're, I wouldn't say at rock bottom, but when you feel like things are trending to that. And it's normal for teams to, understand either the situation in a loss or understand the feeling around the group, that when things go as bad as they did in Buffalo, that there has to be something that needs to be said to the group to recognize, okay, we all know that what people are saying about us. We all know we're dealing with adversity. We all know we don't have our Hart Trophy guy, but let's all eliminate the doubts of each other. Let's all remind ourselves that we're in the National Hockey League and that we're a good team. Let's get back to focusing on the basics. And let's not think that, one game is going to ruin our season, or let's not think that one game is going to, help us get back to the top. It's going to be, a team mentality. It's going to be, a grind that we all have to commit to, but, let's eliminate the bad habits and let's turn things around here. Let's not let this feeling in the room, which was probably a shitty feeling that they had after that game. Let's not let that creep into the bus ride home, the airplane to the next place, the hotel room, and even into the next rink. Let's stop this here and let's get back to playing the way we know how to play. And I think, you really learn a lot about your team in the next game that follows a players only meeting, or, a coaches meeting, or whatever step you take where a message needs to be sent. You find out a lot about your team in the game that follows. And I think for Winnipeg, it's encouraging the way that they played following that.
Yeah, there's definitely a couple steps forward in finding that defensive structure that was so strong for them last year and wasn't present against Buffalo, but took them to shootout against Montreal. And you look at the Jets' defense, they've been dressing for a couple games on this road trip. Rookie Elias Salamonson, with the Manitoba Moose. What can you say about your experience as a defenseman breaking into the NHL, and what do you think that transition is like for him? You've seen some flashes, but also, some miscues at times.
Well, and that's to be expected, right? I mean, you got a guy entering a new situation. I think there's always excitement that comes into playing in the NHL and getting a chance to showcase yourself. And, it depends on the situation that you're in. Are you coming in and getting an opportunity on a losing team where the feeling is, hey, just go out and play and don't worry about making a mistake? Or are you coming into a team that's kind of feeling a little bit of the pressure, gripping the sticks a little tight because it feels like almost every mistake is ending up in the back of their net? And so for a young player, I think it's just, feeling confident in who you are and just going out there and trying to understand the system that you're playing in and trying to understand the players that are around you. But the most important thing to find success as a young player coming in the lineup is communication. It's a weird reality that they're facing, because for the longest time, you've always known that Hellebuyck was in the back of the net, to play savior for any mistakes that were made. And, maybe last night was a step in the right direction. But for a young defenseman, I mean, it's a young man's game now. You either got to come in and figure it out right away, or, the next guy that gets that chance is waiting for that opportunity. So I wouldn't panic too much with his first game or his first couple games. I think there has to be a sort of a grace period here that's needed. And I think the Winnipeg Jets understand that. I think that the thing that, and this goes to every team, not just the Winnipeg Jets, they're 2 points out of a playoff spot right now. Not where they want to be, but it's a familiar spot for a lot of really good hockey teams that they find themselves in across the league, because the league has gotten so much better, and the teams that were near the bottom of the standings have all made a tremendous leap this year. And you've seen probably the most parity we've seen in the league in at least since I can remember.
Yeah, is that, we're 25 plus games in now. Is that the biggest story here? That just the gap between, the wild card teams in each conference? You see Pittsburgh at 31, and there's Columbus. They're 4 points out of last, but 2 points out of the playoffs. And the West, same thing. San Jose has got that last wild card 29. But, Edmonton out of the spot, 2 points out, but they're also only a couple points out of last. It's kind of crazy, crazy to track here.
Well, you always use Thanksgiving or the 20 to 25 game point to really get a true feel of which teams are going to be playoff teams and which aren't. And then through 25 to 50, I think there's a separation that starts to happen, right? Because the teams that get off to quick starts, like the Pittsburghs, like the Chicagos, like the San Jose's, maybe even the Bostons and the Montreals. And you can throw Detroit into that as well, too, and the Islanders. These are teams that nobody had any expectations with this year. And so they're coming in, they've gotten off the great starts, they've banked a lot of points. And it's amazing what a good start can do to a team's confidence. It could, instill belief in the group and say, okay, well, no one expected us to be good, but we've shown we can be good, but now we got to find a way to sustain this. And we've seen a decent amount of injuries across the league that teams are facing right now and having to deal with their own adversity. But the other thing, too, is that, like you said, like, what's the biggest surprise? I think the goaltending across the league has been a big surprise to me. We haven't seen the normal names lead the statistical or lead the categories for goalies. I mean, I'm just looking at goals against average, for the goaltenders, just in the top five: Jesper Wallstead, Logan Thompson, Scott Wedgwood, Brandon Bussey, Casey DeSmith, Devin Cooley. Like, you're not seeing the big name guys like the Shesterkins, the Vasilevskis, the Ottingers, even the Hellebucks. They haven't led the way statistically. So goaltending has played a huge factor in team success this year. And the teams that are getting good goaltending have been able to win more hockey games, and the teams that haven't been able to get goaltending. I looked directly at the team that I cover on a daily basis. That's the Toronto Maple Leafs, who are dealing with their own struggles, and mostly because they haven't been getting the goaltending that they've received in years past. I mean, when you don't get 900 plus save percentage, chances are you're not going to win many hockey games. And between goaltending and parity and injuries, you're seeing some surprising teams right now find themselves in playoff spots.
Yeah, it's very surprising. You look at Canadian teams, if the season ended today, only two in the playoffs. That's Montreal, who we saw last night, and Ottawa. What do you make of the Canadian teams this year? And, Winnipeg's struggling. Edmonton, I'm not sure what, if they're going to pull out of it, and Toronto as well, not quite having the same seasons that they did last year.
Yeah, I think that's a surprise, to me and to others as well, too, because I know the Leafs lost Marner and there was going to be an adjustment period there, but they still, iced a pretty good lineup. They had both their goaltenders back. They had all their defense back. They still got three elite forwards in Matthews, Nylander, Tavares, and you add Nyes to that group. That's a good start. Edmonton, I don't understand Edmonton. I don't think a lot of people do. I know it's always McDavid and Draisaitl, but to think that that's a team that went to 2 straight Stanley Cup finals, and you look at their offseason moves, and they didn't really do anything to make you think that they got better, right? I mean, they had to make some cap moves, and they locked up some guys on some big extensions, and they got McDavid to re-sign, but who did they really add to make you feel confident that they could take that next step? Mangiapane, great, he's a great depth player, but their goaltending's still the same, and they're having the same struggles with it. The other team was, Winnipeg. We just talked about Winnipeg. And, I think Montreal and Ottawa are two teams that took huge steps last year, and they found a nice way to carry that into this season. Montreal early on was one of the most exciting teams to watch, and they've sort of leveled off a little bit. They've had their injuries. Ottawa, they already went through their adversity playing without their captain, and they've been able to hold fort. So, look, as much as we want Canadian teams to be part of it, they're dealing with their own internal adversities, and on top of that, it's the other teams around them that have gotten better.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see, what trends continue as the season goes on. One trend we've seen this year is young players. You look at the top 5 in scoring: Celebrini, second, 40, Bedard, he's on fire now, 38 points. Leo Carlson as well, and in Edmonton. But for here, we're focusing on Celebrini and Bedard. The Olympic team, I think it comes out, you got to put the roster in the end of the month, assuming the players go. Do you have Connor, Bedard, and Celebrini? Is there room for both of these guys on the roster?
Oh, absolutely, I do, and absolutely there should be room. And if there isn't, you got to make it. I don't see how you can justify your decision by not taking one or both. I mean, it's the proof is in the pudding, and these two guys have elevated their game to be recognized as the best in the game. I mean, they're second and third in league scoring, ahead of Connor McDavid. I mean, you just look at the top 5 in scoring, 4 of them are Canadians. How could you not include them in the team? And if you don't, how could you reason with them as to the decision why you didn't want to keep them? It's because you want to say, oh, well, we have other guys that can play different roles. Well, hey, I bet you if you ask those guys to play certain roles, they would happily accept it, including the role of, hey, get off to a great start and make sure you're popping so that you could push to make this roster. And I think both of the guys have. Everyone says, well, if you're going to take them where they fit, well, they're clearly proving that they're star players and that they could lead their own teams. Why couldn't they be in the top 6 of Team Canada? So I find more reasons to find a way to put them in the lineup than more reasons not to have a part of the group, because it's best on best. And they've clearly shown that they're one of the best and they should be on it.
Yeah, I'll never forget 2006 Olympics when, young players Crosby and Stahl were having great years and they left them off and it did not go well. You don't want to see that happen again. This year we've got our eye on Mark Scheifele. It's going to be tight for him. He's got 34 points in 26 games. One of those Canadians who is top 10. Do you have a lean on Scheifele? We're, crossing our fingers here in Winnipeg that he'll be on the team.
Yeah, and I would put him on my team. I did when I did my mock team. He was on it. You just look at the role that he played with Winnipeg last year and the role that he continues to carry with his team as a leader that can be trusted both offensively and defensively. And he's sort of one of those versatile players that you could ask to play in any situation. And there's an argument to be made whether he should have been on that Four Nations team, but he wasn't. But if there's a guy that's definitely, made a name for himself to get on it, it's him, it's Suzuki, it's the two guys we just talked about. Now, the big question is who do you remove from that equation? That's not for me to say. That's for the management team to figure out. But if a guy deserves to be on it, you find a way to make him on it. And Mark Scheifele is one of those guys that absolutely deserves to be on it.
Yeah, can't wait to see what the roster looks like, assuming the players go. A lot of conversation with the rink now, but, they're talking about an Olympic team. We have the World Junior team. Carlo, you played on Team Canada World Juniors 02 and 03. Does this time of year bring up memories for you when it comes to World Juniors?
Absolutely, man. I mean, the World Juniors were two of the greatest highlights of my career. The 1 year with this jersey behind me, I was, one of the MVPs in the tournament, led the tournament in scoring as a defenseman, made the first All-Star team. And, we lost in the gold medal game to Russia. We lost both years in the gold medal game to Russia. So as great as both years have been one of my best memories because you get to represent your country, there's also scars that come with those memories because, I have 2 silver medals and I would, at least appreciate, the thought of having one. But I get excited this time of year. I think you get excited because, the tournament and the coverage that it gets, especially here in Canada with TSN. And you get to see the next wave of future NHLers come through that tournament. So that's always fun to watch as well, too.
Do you remember the excitement that you had when you got the call to make the team? Would you have a good, sometimes players have stories about being in the hotel room getting the call.
Yeah. Well, luckily my second year, because I was a returning player, I knew I was going to make the team. But my first year, man, it was really nerve-wracking. It went right down to the final wire. And I had a good feeling that I was going to make the team because I had a really good camp. And But I was rooming with Steve Eminger. And back in the day, it was the old 6 a.m. phone call that you would get, which I thought was absurd at the time. And I think it's even more absurd that they tried to continue it. Like, why they would let players go to sleep like that. I mean, do you really think that the management team stays up until the early hours of the morning to figure out their final decisions? Like, they know the night before. They could easily tell the player the night before, and then nobody has to have a restless sleep. And so it was me and Eminger, and we were both, pretty confident they were going to be on the team. But, you never know until you hear that call. And none of us could sleep. The lights were on, the TV was on, and you're just counting the minutes, and you're just hoping that phone doesn't ring. And once 6 o'clock hit, the phone didn't ring, and it was like 6:05, and the phone still didn't ring. And then just shortly after 6:05, the phone rang, and we were both looking at each other. We're like, it's past 6 o'clock. This can't be it. So I pick up the phone, and it's one of my junior buddies, it's Brad Boyes, calling the hotel phone. And he's like, hey, did you make it? I was like, are you kidding me? Calling me at this time? I was like, do you understand what's going on? He's like, yeah, I know, but I just thought it because it was after 6, I could call you and see if you made it. It's like, well, I haven't received any calls. So if that means I made it, then yeah. He goes, oh, okay, great. And then as soon as I put the phone down, somebody knocked on the door. And it was Paul Dennis, who was part of the management team. And he asked for Steve Eminger. And we're like, the hell is he? Why would somebody come knock on the door and ask for him? And he had to get dressed and go out the door. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, nobody asked for me. I didn't get a phone call. I probably made it. But why did they come and get Steve? I mean, normally it happens over the phone. So Steve comes back and he's got this horrible look on his face. And you can just tell that he was given the news that he didn't make it. And I didn't really know how to console him because he was one of my good friends. And I wanted to share that experience with him. And obviously we didn't because he didn't make it. And I said, what was that all about? He goes, well, they were trying to call the hotel line and it had a busy signal. So they were trying to call at the same time when Boise called. And long story short, it was a restless night. And for me, it was, a moment well worth it. But I felt terrible for Steve because I really wanted to share the experience with him.
That's a good one. It's nice that Steve able to make it the next year.
He did, yeah.
In 03, but Brad Boyes tying up the line. That's a good one. Well, Carlo, thank you so much.
At least he wasn't playing a prank because that would have been an awful prank. But
couldn't wait. But thanks for so much for taking the time. I know we'll see you on some Jets coverage in January on TSN. Hopefully we can connect again soon. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, I look forward to it and have a great holidays.
With our pal Carlo Colaiacovo and Remo. JP Vigier will jump on a little later on, but we are about to speak with our guy Kenny Wiebe of the Winnipeg Free Press. And of course, Kenny and Rennie. Boys had a great show. How about Rennie last night? Looking like $1 million US tax-free on national TV. Folks, before we bring in Ken, do want to thank our friends at Princess Auto for their great support of WST. Holidays just around the corner. You know that Princess Auto guy in the family would love nothing more than maybe a PA gift card to use when he wants to get the best deals on the most unique assortment of tools and equipment around. Of course, Princess Autos is founded and headquartered right here in Winnipeg and coast to coast serving Canadians with 3 locations here in Manitoba, Panet Road, Portage Avenue West, and of course out in Brandon. You can pop in there ahead of the holidays for great deals on so many different things. And of course, you can also save yourself some time and do your shopping online 24/7, 365 over at princessauto.com. Speaking of Princess Auto, really looking forward to being out at Bell's Kitchen tonight hosting the Hockey Helps the Homeless celebrity draft before the big tournament tomorrow. Good luck to everyone in the tourney, and thanks for supporting Hockey Helps the Homeless. We will not be seeing the Jets on the Chuds Power Sports Power Poll in the top 5. We will be seeing 3 teams in the Central Division, which is a little bit tough right now for all of us to digest. But again, it's about winning games right now more than anything for the Jets. As far as what's going on at Chuds Power Sports, they are winter ready and holiday ready right now. The snow is coming, and our friends at Chuds Power Sports are absolutely ready, not only to get you out on the trails, but to get you some incredible savings this Christmas season. The best gifts don't come under the tree. They come from Chuds Power Sports. Enjoy holiday savings across every department. And don't forget to browse the online parts store, True North Parts, for Christmas specials that slay the competition. I see what you did there, Derminator. They're, of course, the corner of Highway 8321 out in Gimli. 80 years in business. The iconic power sports superstore in Manitoba. The Chuds family, of course, has been behind it so many good times on the trails and on the roads, and they really do have it all. I mean, bikes, boats, RVs, of course, ice fishing shacks, ice fishing gear. Now, the snowmobiles, though, is what a lot of you are fired up for. And they've got great preseason deals right now on Arctic Cat and Polaris as well, all waiting for you at Chuds Power Sports. You can shop and check them out online at chudspowersports.com as well. And hey, while we're looking to stay warm this Christmas season, you also need to be warm in your whip when you're getting around the city and not being that guy on the side of the road calling your friend for a boost because your battery's dead. Manitoba Battery's got your back, folks. What you're going to need to do is head on down to Manitoba Battery at either Logan Avenue or Dovercourt Drive. They got free battery testing right now, so if you're wondering whether the battery's ready to go and get you through the winter, they will let you know. And if you need a new battery, you'll get the best prices in town, period. Beating the pants off the big box stores. They've got great pre-Christmas deals on right now on booster packs, booster cables, the ice fishing flash set as well. It's all waiting for you at Manitoba Battery, your local option with 2 locations. You can also order online with delivery options inside the perimeter at manitobabattery.com. All right, doing a little work here behind the scenes. I hope we're good to go with our pal Ken Wiebe, who joins us now. Wiebe, welcome back to WST. What's going on? How are you? Oh, I can't hear you right now, Ken.
That's not him. Let me try to figure this out.
All right, we've got a little bit of an audio snafu, bit of a different setup today. Thank you, Manitoba Hydro, for your weekly power outage in the Osborne Village and Cordon area. But we are trying to get this in. We had Ken in before, and it was a little crackly, which became an issue. Remo's working on that right away. We'll get that in. And you know what I do, and I'll wait to do this in full a little bit later on. But I want to give a special shout out to WST listener Ken Hotz, and Ken follows the Winnipeg sports talk scene through WST all around the world, and we'll give you some of the highlights of the places that he sent pictures to of him rocking a WST hat or t-shirt. But yesterday's one takes the cake, and I just retweeted it. Ken sent us a picture wearing his new WST toque from Antarctica with a penguin in the background. He was on like Mount Kilimanjaro. He's been all around the world, which is amazing. We always love the photos, but it was next level getting the pic from Antarctica. There you can see it right now, and the and the penguin in the back. So Ken, appreciate your support, and it always means we love getting texts and DMs and emails for folks that kind of stay connected to their hockey team, their football team, the city of Winnipeg, while traveling the world through Winnipeg Sports Talk. The guy that will be traveling the world following the Jets as he continues his run is Ken Wiebe. Not sure whether we are good to go. Remo, what's the?
Let me just go on pause for a sec. I got to unplug and replug something, and then we'll bring in Ken.
Okay, folks, this is the dramatic pause. Ken Wiebe coming up in just a moment. Hang tight. Don't go anywhere. All right. Sorry about the little delay there, folks. Chaos in the WST studio, but I think the CTO has figured it all out. Let's bring in, after a dramatic pause. The wait's always worth it, though, for our guy Ken Wiebe of the Winnipeg Free Press. What's going on? What's going on, Ken? Oh, this is what's going on. There we go. Kenny, what's going on? How are you? Great to have you on the program and we can hear you.
Yes, Huss, great to be with you. Gremlins in the house. Tis the season, I guess, but we'll do our best to power through.
All right, let's first off, I'm still trying to, I kind of look at last night as sort of a push. You know what I mean? They didn't get 2 points. They really wanted it. They didn't lose in regulation. That is what kills you. And I mean, admittedly, the bar was really low, but it was a heck of a lot better than Monday night. I mean, what are your takeaways for a team that's desperate, that got some sort of a result, but not entirely what they were looking for?
Yeah, Huss, I mean, it's an interesting situation to gauge right now, right? Because you don't want to overcompensate for the original standard, but you can't ignore what you've been seeing. So I would chalk that up into the point gained category, just based on, most folks thought, wow, if the Buffalo Sabres made the Jets look slow, imagine what the Montreal Canadiens might do to them, So, and the other part, too, that's been interesting, Huss, and we've known this for quite some time. There have been times where even when the Jets were winning the President's Trophy or competing for first in the Central, the Montreal Canadiens have given them trouble at various times, like not like a crazy stretch like the Jets versus the Wild or anything like that, but they've given them some issues at times. So what I saw was another, dominant effort from the top line. If you're looking at the Jets in the micro, Eric Comrie very good in the game. Huss 29 saves, and there would have been no points without Eric Comrie's I'm going to say brilliance. I mean,
did he steal that point?
You look up and see 3-2, but it's a game where Eric Comrie is 936 and only gave up 2, right? So it's like a situation where you lose 3-2, but it's an empty netter. So Eric Comrie did more than his share of the workload in that game, and he needed to. We know that Eric is a prideful individual. Nobody likes to get pulled, Huss, especially against a team that you played for, and it didn't go as well as you had hoped when you signed a deal there. And then to get yanked after one period would have been tough. Even if it's a mercy pull, Huss, it still is tough to go through. Eric Comrie, I suspect, will get another crack at the Sabres tomorrow night on Friday. But again, this is an interesting scenario now where, Milic is getting one and Comrie's getting one in all likelihood. So what order do you go in? I think that you ride Comrie if you're the Jets against Buffalo and sort of just see what happens. But, beyond the top line and, Josh Morrissey, who again, Josh is having an exceptional year. One of the best defensemen in the National Hockey League, not named Cale Makar. But I don't think that Josh would have liked how the Demidov setup to Kapanen happened either. That's got to have better coverage in front of the net. But Demidov makes a really good play, wins a battle, one-on-one battle. So again, this is just to say that even one of the best defensemen in the league is not immune to the occasional mistake. But right now, the problem for the Jets is that even a guy that makes so few mistakes all of a sudden makes one and it ends up in the back of the net, right? So, 2 times the Jets had the lead, 2 times the Canadiens even to score. So when it comes back to the defending or locking things down, buttoning things up, all of those things, the Jets were not perfect in those facets. Sorry, you asked me if Comrie stole the point. I think that it's fair to say he had a humongous impact in it. But again, in a night where both Scheifele and Connor score, I don't think we can only say Comrie stole them the point, even though Comrie had to play excellent in order for them to even get one.
I just mean, like, if we get like an even just average or above average goaltending
Oh,
performance,
sure.
I'm not sure that there's not 5 back in the net, and we're sitting here fanning the flames of an even more raging inferno in
Sure.
the chat. Like, listen,
Let's say it's a Hellebuckian effort, Huss, is what I'm going to just call it. Let's just flat out say that for all the folks saying Comrie can't do it, whatever else, that was a similar effort to Connor Hellebuck in terms of what elite level goaltending can do in a game. And again, I understand it's a back-to-back for Montreal, and they've been struggling in their past 10. All these things are out the window, Huss. Like, I think Sean kind of said it best. I mean, the gold standard of the Jets from last year, that's in the rear view, Huss. I mean, they need to establish a new standard that, approaches that at some point, but to expect them to be at that standard at this situation is just not paying attention to what's unfolding. Now, on the other front that we've been discussing, Huss, on the secondary scoring, that was not there, but and again, I understand the chat room is going to say what they say. That was one of Jonathan Toews' better games of late. And I know not everyone will agree, but he was involved. He was around the net. I mean, the one probably wouldn't have counted because he bowled over Dobish before the puck ended up in his pads.
gotta go to the net. Gotta go to the net.
He got to the areas. I mean, we know this. Jonathan's, he has family in Montreal. It's a special place for him to play. I thought his setup to Vlad Nemestikov in overtime, and Huss, and I know this because you've seen the same things as me. People saying, "Oh, what's Toews doing on the ice in overtime?" And then he gets out in space and makes a pass like that, and people are like, "Oh, that's why he's out on the ice in overtime." We know his line has been giving up too many goals of late. That's 100% accurate. We know this. My colleague Mike McIntyre, just to set the table, he is writing a story comparing Toews' production compared to all 31 other second line centers in the NHL today. It's going to be posted on winnipegfreepress.com shortly if it hasn't been already. So again, we also know that that's part of the story for sure. But the Jets need better finishing ability. We know that Adam Lowry backed up his words with action. Not a lot of people interested in going toe-to-toe with Arbor Jackeye, specifically after a clean hit. But when you call a team meeting, players only meeting, and then you run someone into the end boards and someone says, "I'd like to go," Adam Lowry definitely answered the bell. And again, I understand some people's feeling on fighting, and that's okay. But because Adam Lowry gets thrown to the ground and takes 2 in the helmet, that doesn't mean anything, Huss. That's the willingness to engage with someone like that is what other people notice in that scenario. So Adam Lowry showing some leadership there as well. And again, the rest of it is factual, Huss. Fourth line got caved in. Scoring chances against, I think, 7-1. That can't be happening. For a team that's struggling to get secondary offense, fourth line's got to be better. Third line still has to be better. Second line has to be better. And Huss, middle 6, you can number them any way that you want. None of them are producing enough. And Huss, the inability for the fourth line to be used as often as it needs to is also an issue that the Jets have got to get sorted out here, whether that's calling up David Gustafson, Walker Dewar, Parker Ford, Jared Anderson Dolan, whatever the case may be. Scott Arneal's got to get to the point where he can trust his fourth line to play 9 to 11 minutes, which is what we saw last year when all 3 guys on the line had double digits in goals.
Ken, listen, the secondary scoring has been the topic for the last number of weeks. I don't know if you agreed with me yesterday, but I said, listen, if this game goes poorly and they lose again, I can pretty much guarantee that they're going to have to split the top line up, get some different looks in the game against Buffalo. Well, they didn't win, but they didn't lose in regulation. I mean, like, again, when things go to a shootout, it can go either way. And I mean, to me, someone's getting an extra point. I mean, this is basically a 65-minute draw, if you will, and you play for the bonus, and you know my feelings on the 3-point games.
Yes.
So
remove them.
So, but the other part of it is that you watched the game last night, and that first line was freaking magic. I mean, they were incredible. The Kyle Connor's assist on Scheifele's goal is one of the best of the year. And obviously, What
It should have been
did-
interference on Noah Dobson.
Well,
He completely impeded his ability, but he still got there anyway.
That's the thing. Like the fight that he showed getting through that to that point and the beautiful pass, all that, like that is the only thing seemingly going for the Jets right now. And I totally get it. Like, you know, you want to try to mix things up. And I mean, that's a thing that most teams probably would have done already right now. But then you look at what that line did last night. And I'm sure there's a thought of going, well, how the heck do we move away from that and potentially have 4 lines that aren't going? I mean, just your thoughts on the predicament of the coaching staff, because you know it's something that they've thought about. Arnie said after the Buffalo game that everything is on the table. They did what they could do going into that game, 3 players in, 3 players out. The team's now coming back to Winnipeg. Moose played last night, so, I mean, you obviously have the opportunities to have call-ups. But specifically when it comes to that top line, do you think we see the same lines tomorrow night? And the pros and cons of going that way, because there is risk involved. But obviously, if the benefits, if you got to a point where you get 2 or 3 lines going after making the change, that would be a real positive for the Winnipeg Jets.
Yeah, Huss, I mean, for me, I suspect they will stay together, and I've offered this as a potential solution, and I understand, the general thought is that Connor and Scheifele can drive their own line, which, again, I understand the premise, and we don't have to look that far back for this to be accurate. Kyle Connor had a great year when he played a lot with Pierre-Luc Dubois. I mean, I think that some people have erased that portion of Kyle Connor's career in Winnipeg, but he was able to do it. Now, I think the solution for me, or at least from where I sit, where there are no ramifications, I think that maybe you flip-flop Vilardi and Perfetti as a way to potentially get Perfetti going. We know right now it's not going well for Cole, but because of the way that the dynamic duo is going, maybe they can drag Perfetti up and help him get his offense going. And Huss, you talked about it yesterday with Hammer. Gabe Vilardi, I think, is he's going to the point now where maybe he can help drive the second line with the way that he's been scoring. And again, we've seen it. Despite all of the issues, Taves not being productive, 1 assist in 10 games, all of those things, there are 2 or 3 times a night where Taves makes a pass that puts a player in an incredible spot, and there's been no finishing ability shown by his line mates. And again, I'm not taking Jonathan off the hook. He needs to be better. Let's be perfectly clear. I wonder if maybe Gabe Vilardi, with the way that he's been scoring in this 7-game span, maybe he can convert a couple of those chances, and then maybe Perfetti gets himself going with Scheifele and Connor, and then eventually they'll go back to the other way. But
let me
it's
get
as
you on
easy as saying. I think that the reason why I flip those two rather than Connor with Perfetti is that Mark needs to play with someone with speed. And I think Kyle is the same. That's not to say Kyle couldn't, score or drive with Taves, but I think he has a better chance of driving when he's on a line with at least one more guy who's really quick. And again, no offense to Vilardi, he's just not in that bracket when it comes to explosiveness. And neither is Perfetti. So I think you're not changing the dynamic of the line as much if you change the right wingers rather than put the left winger down with either Taves or Lowry. But again, I wouldn't rule it out. But I also listen. I mean, Huss, you heard Scott Arneal. He liked more of what he saw from the Taves line and the Lowry line. So to me, I think it's less likely that he would do it on Friday. Like it would have been more likely if they played like they did against Buffalo. Whereas if he saw progress in a game against a fast team that was supposed to skate them out of the rink, like to me, this reminds me of the first Carolina game, Huss. We thought a team like Carolina that shoots from everywhere and is a buzzsaw and so fast, they might skate the Jets into the ground. And with the exception of that, 8-minute block in the second period, it was more of an even game. Yeah. So yesterday is an even game. Again, even though Natural Stat Trick had the Jets up 15-14 in high dangers, that's not how I saw it. We know the plotting doesn't always align with the eye test and whatever else. And again, those guys do great work.
That was fake news. I don't know if they do great work, to be honest with you.
I didn't see that as, I didn't see that with my eyes. I did not. Dobish had to be solid. Comrie had to be spectacular. So to me, that was not an even game in terms of scoring chances or high danger chances. But the fact that the Jets generated double digits in scoring chances would be a step forward in relation to what we had been seeing from those other three lines. But yeah, I mean, I'm with you. I mean, so of course it might make some sense to have a call up, but are the Jets at the point in game 27 where they're willing to waive? So Huss, this is simple. Unless they're wanting to send Elias Solomonson down, you can't call up one of those forwards without exposing someone to waivers. And so for me, I'm not saying that they can't or won't do it. I would just be surprised if in game 27, that's an option that they're, is a first choice. But having said that, Walker Duehr, he's up to 8 goals now. So he would be a guy that the Jets would have considered in that mix. David Gustafsson, we know he's a defensively sound player and can come in and give you a little bit of a spark, even with a limited offensive ceiling. And we know Scott Arneal likes the way Jared Anderson-Dolan plays because he was almost in line to make the team last fall before he blocked a shot against Calgary, and he played playoff games. So we'll see what happens. I mean, again, the expectation for the Jets was that the guys they brought in free agency would be upgrades from the internal candidates. And to this point, that hasn't necessarily shaken out that way.
Yeah,
it hasn't shaken out that way.
Back to the I just want to your point about maybe you move Vilardi. I'm not sure that is as impactful. And the one thing, and like before, I would have thought that okay, if you break up Mark and Kyle, the line, the first line loses so much of it that the juice isn't worth the squeeze. I will say this. The way Vilardi has been playing, finishing, creating, starting off plays, like there's been a number of goals that line has scored that Connor hasn't been involved in. And I think that right now, Vilardi is playing at a level with Scheifele that I think they might be able to still perform at a really high level. Obviously, it won't be the same without Kyle Connor on it. But Connor can come in and add something to the second line that they just simply don't have, that they wouldn't be getting if Vilardi was there.
Yeah, and that's finishing ability, Huss, right? I mean, these are the facts. Kyle is a consistent 30 goal guy that can get 40 plus and maybe 50 in a year where he's cooking with gas. So, and again, I know what you're saying, Huss, and I'm not saying that it's not worth trying. I just think that we've also, my counter to that would be that when Vilardi was out, there were small batches or patches where Iafallo could go up on that line and they were still productive also. Now, Iafallo is a different player than Perfetti, a little bit more on the forecheck, does well on the wall like Vilardi does. I'm just saying that for me, Kyle Connor is also a great passer. That's, I think, the part of his game we don't necessarily, not we as in you and I, but the hockey world doesn't see his vision in passing the same way that people who watch him on a daily basis do. So that could help on the second line for Perfetti or Taves. But for me, I just think that Perfetti, I think you're changing the complexion of the line less by doing that other flip. Now, you're right. Impact-wise, it may not be the same. But, Huss, I would counter by saying that Perfetti went into the year as the fourth most important forward, and he's nowhere near that level right now. And that's why I would put him with your two hottest players, and Vilardi, doing more than hold his own, I think could maybe help spark that second line. That's why that's my basis behind it. I'd be curious what JP thinks. I know he's coming up next, but for me, that's the way that I would go first. And again, I'm not saying that you can't break up Kyle Connor and Mark Scheifele. I'm not saying that at all, but I'm saying that there's probably less risk. Not risk. Risk isn't the right word. I think that it would be advantageous for Perfetti. You might get a little bit more pop even from that first line, and your second line could benefit because of the way that Vilardi's finishing. But Huss, the bigger problem, Nemestikov's one assist in 13 or 14 games now after an incredible start. Again, even Morgan Barron, Huss. We've talked about Morgan Barron, and I've mentioned plenty of times, I think he's a clear double-digit scorer that could push for 15 in a middle six role. It's one assist in about 17 or 18 games now. So I think it's more than just one thing and a snap of the finger and it happens. Maybe it's a Barron, Taves, Velarde line where you get the speed from Barron and you get the passing and finishing ability there by Velarde, and Barron can finish at times as well. So, but again, the problem is that the blender has been on industrial strength a lot, and it has not transpired or translated into either immediate or long-range results. And that's also part of the problem.
But they haven't put the prime ingredients into the blender yet. And the question is whether they'll put the good stuff in there and see what the product is like afterwards. Hey, listen, we've got JP coming up. Just 30 seconds or so. Just thoughts on where Perfetti is at and what needs to happen for him to get to anywhere close to the player that they have been counting on since he returned.
And again, JP will have better insight than this because he saw the sweep firsthand. But Huss, for me, what I see, Cole is not playing at the quote unquote brick levels that we saw last year when he worked himself through another drought because of the high ankle sprain. This is one of the, again, both players, Lowry and Perfetti, two of the toughest injuries to come back from for any player, no matter whether you're a early NHLer or you're in your early 30s. Hip surgery, Lowry's probably not going to be up to full speed until the calendar year flips us. And for Perfetti, he's just not, his effort is there. He's just not getting from A to B the way that he did last year down the stretch and into the playoffs. And again, anyone who's watching sees that. But that hasn't prevented him from getting scoring chances. So that's the good news for Perfetti, is that because of his elite word processor, he's getting to those spots and still generating the chances. The problem is he hasn't been able to be disruptive on the forecheck. There just haven't been enough second and third chances for that line specifically, but also for the Lowry line. And yesterday was the first time in a while the third line, the Lowry line, got back to being an identity line and was able to cycle in the offensive zone with some regularity. That has been an issue that they have dipped on in the last stretch of time. So again, those for Perfetti specifically, again, and this is an impossible ask. It's like when you get a groin injury. It's hard to add that quarter or half step to begin with. Then when you have to deal with the high ankle sprain element, you were completely pushed back to a level where you were before you started all of your training. Now, again, I'm not a doctor. I had an ankle injury myself way back in the 10th grade, Huss. And I remember it was tough to come back from playing AAA hockey, let alone trying to be in the NHL, playing at an incredible pace. So he's obviously, his effort level is there, but he also needs to sort of, again, we know that the smiling memes and all of those things. I think that Cole's a guy who puts so much pressure on himself that when it's not going well, things kind of get compounded a little bit. If he gets one, he might get five, but that's the whole thing. We thought that after he got his first one and then his second one, it just hasn't translated into the bushel of goals yet. But he's been sniffing around it, that he could get there sooner than later. But it's a taxing process, and it's a big ask given the nature of the injury.
No doubt about it. All right, pal, listen, thanks again. Thanks for the patience earlier on. Enjoy big game tomorrow and then a busy weekend with a couple editions of K&R. On the YouTube channel, and we'll look forward to that piece from Mike coming up in the Winnipeg Free Press. We'll see you at the rink tomorrow, pal. Thanks for doing this.
Yep, thanks for having me, and I'll have an interesting story coming up in the next few days. I'm speaking with former Jet Jay Harrison about the work he's been doing with the NHLPA on the mental health side of things. So looking forward to that running. I'm not sure if it will be tomorrow or a little bit later on, but not a lot of guys become doctors after being NHLers, as JP knows. So, and Jay was always a guy that was great to talk to. So that'll be fun. That'll be a fun one as well.
Well, JP may not be a doctor, but he's certainly a professor
Indeed.
of the great game of hockey. We're going to go right from Ken Wiebe into JP Vigier and welcome him into the program. Vig, it is great to have you back on the program. How you been keeping, pal?
Yeah, good. Busy and trying to stay warm. It's a little chilly out there now.
No doubt. You've been working out the injured guys as well, putting them through the paces.
Yeah, an interesting project that came about this year. So it's a lot of fun. You get to test, the highest level. So it's really interesting to see what those players can do, where they're at, challenge them to get back as quickly as they can because no one wants to stay injured. It's a shitty place to be. And at that point, you want to hurry them without making it worse.
So it's great. So now instead of going to Scott Arneal for updates, we're just going to go to JP Vigier. Give us the full rundown. Everyone, what's the story? All that. Probably not part of the gig. Exactly. Hey, listen, I mean, you're paying close attention to this team. It's been a pretty ugly stretch. I mean, listen, you can thoughts on the game last night, which was really fun, back and forth. Eric Comrie, brilliant. They get a point. But just what have you been seeing in the Jets over the past few weeks that has led to, the sort of free fall in the standings and the current plight they are as they return home to face Buffalo?
Yeah, I think the hard part is everyone goes back to last year when they were so good. Well, last year is different than this year. So the first thing is to forget about last year and is, who are they this year? What are they going to be? And we're still looking for what they are going to be at their best. And I think right now what you're seeing is there's a space between the D and the forwards that hasn't been connected consistently. And when that happens, it allows teams like Buffalo and Montreal, who have great skating teams, to get through the neutral zone really quick and attack. And I think as a defender, if they're coming fast, you got to back off. So last year what we saw was that backtrack and the reload and creating turnovers before teams could build their speed stopped, like at the offensive blue line or red line at worst case scenario, and the Jets were able to build. And that's what we're not seeing consistently this year.
Vij, there's been a lot of talk about getting the secondary scoring going. And it seems like they've tried just about everything. And the final stage, if you will, would be to break up a line that has been basically the majority of any offensive punch. From your perspective, how do you weigh the risk and the reward of doing something to that top line, whether it's moving Kyle Connor to the second line or, as Ken mentioned, potentially Gabe Vilardi, to try to add a little bit more oomph to the lines that aren't doing anything without losing too much of the guys that have basically been carrying the mail for you the entire season?
Yeah, I think the first thing you got to look at is who will be taking that spot and where are they at? If you put Alex Iafallo on the top line and move Vilardi, where is Iafallo at? How does he complement those guys in his game right now? We know when he's at his best, he's the utility knife and he can do a lot of different things. But who is going to come in and replace? You want to kind of have some continuity, but also if those two guys are buzzing and you bring a player who's cold, what does that do to the rest of the line? And all of a sudden now you have 4 cold lines. So I think that's the scare on moving anybody. If you had a player that was kind of consistently chipping in right now, like the Jets are just having that secondary scoring. We all know it's not easy, right? They're fighting themselves through it. But if someone was kind of doing something, I think then you could look at a switch. But right now there's so much cold water on it that are you going to kill the first line by making a move on that?
That is that's the challenge right now. And I'm sure it's probably keeping the coaches up at night because, there is the last thing you want is to even make your offense more impotent than it has been and take away from the guys that have been getting it done. But at some point, it's not sustainable. We've seen what's happened over the past month when that scoring is drying up. If they cannot become more than a one-line team, hard to imagine them coming anywhere close to their goals that they set out at the beginning of the year. Never mind the ultimate goal. We're just talking about being a playoff team.
Yeah, and that's the juggling piece, right? Can they get other guys to support that offense? They've carried the mail, they've carried the load, and it's not like everyone's not trying to score. I think the snowball has gotten quite heavy mentally, which at times becomes quite hard to stop the ball rolling. And sometimes it takes that gigantic effort from a group to stop the ball from rolling down the hill, kill that ball and start a new one, which is on the good side of the ledger. And I think that's where the mental grind of the weight of things, everyone knows that they have better, but all this we keep hearing and seeing is that it's getting heavy, they're getting slow. They need that one stop, like that big kill, right? And then build off of that. And I think through shifts and through periods of rebuilding themselves mentally with confidence, will allow them to get to that spot that everyone's looking for. And I think the problem is normally you see a guy on a cold streak, it's one or two guys here. Unfortunately, the Winnipeg Jets have had quite a few guys on a cold streak for a while, add some injuries to guys that, Pionk hasn't been there for a while, pieces here and there. They haven't had a lot of continuity of being able to see the D core support the offensive rush that we saw all of last year, consistency in the lines offensively, and that grinding game isn't quite coming. We saw pieces of it yesterday, but it needs to be more consistent to wear down that opposition. That's where the Winnipeg Jets were really good last year, is that heavy weight of holding on to pucks offensively, grinding, putting it to a place where they can retrieve it, low to high, crash the net, rebound goal. Let's do that again. Get it deep, chase it down, create a turnover, and shift after shift, build off of that, just to help themselves mentally as well.
Vij, let me lean on your experience as a player. Obviously a lot of the things we're talking about is in the hands of the coaching staff, who's playing with who, and I mean that's outside of the realm of the players as well. The guys that are really slumping, from an individual basis, how do you tackle that? How difficult is it for a player to be going through a time where your team's struggling and a big part of it is that you haven't been doing even close to the expectations you have for yourself? And where does that turnaround start? Is it just a matter of a break here or there? Or, is there something more that these individuals have to do to put themselves in a better chance to actually be the players that they know they can be and have been in the past?
Yeah, and that's a great question, right? So you're going to look at, it's almost on an individual basis. Like, these players care so much. You don't get to the top 1% of the world in your profession by not caring. Mm-hmm. So these guys care so much, and sometimes that's an extra weight on you as well. But you're going to have to look at, are they getting to the right spots, right? We always look at puck acquisition. Can they get the puck, get more puck touches? Can they create the next play with the next pass or the next play? Can we extend puck touches? So once we get the puck, what are we doing with it? Once we do something with it, where are we going? And it's kind of a piece-by-piece process where you can't just go, well, today I'm going to go score. I'm really going to get to the net. It's not even that easy, right? You almost have to go, okay, I'm getting puck touches. My confidence is starting to come because I'm doing the right things with the puck. I get a few extra shots over the next little bit. And then from there, I got a real good scoring chance. It didn't go in, but I'm getting a chance. Then you build it to 2 chances. Now the confidence is growing because you're getting chances. And the more chances you get, the better you feel. And eventually one's going to go in. And then it starts, that's right, I can do this. And the belief in themselves building off of that. So it's not really, we're focused on the end result, but there's probably about 4 or 5 or 6 steps, depending on the player, of what those steps are to get to that end result. You have to really piece it together. Am I skating properly? Am I in the right position to receive pucks? Am I in the right place to extend to the next play and build off of that?
JP Vigier with us here on Winnipeg Sports Talk, talking with the latest on the Winnipeg Jets. Vij, they're also without their best player, and that, of course, is the reigning Hart Trophy winner, Connor Hellebuyck, which adds more pressure to every player in that locker room. Eric Comrie was brilliant last night after a kind of a tough start for him and the team to this run without Hellebuyck. How much of a positive was the play of the netminder last night, other than the obvious result of the game, getting something out of a game that probably more nights than not you're coming out with 0, and moving forward, can that be something that gives the team a bit of a boost because they know that they've got a guy that, is in a very, very difficult situation that came up with the game like he had last night when they needed it so desperately?
Yeah, look, you can't replace Connor Hellebuyck. Everyone knows that. But I think right now the Winnipeg Jets have to continue to play their game. You can't change your team game depending on who's in net. You can't play a 1-4. Winnipeg Jets are going to have to play on their toes. They're going to have to play smart. But it's really encouraging that Eric Comrie comes out and has a heck of a game. Really, in that first period, he kept it 0-0, did a lot of really good things for the Winnipeg Jets. I think that's super important. That gives belief to the players. It also gives belief back to himself, right? You're not asking Eric Comrie to be Connor Hellebuyck. You're asking Eric Comrie to be Eric Comrie. And he has shown over the last couple of years he's actually very dependable. He hasn't got to play a lot, but when he has been in net, he's been very reliable, able to do the job, right, and build off of that. So I think the players know. They're not just looking at a one-game sample. They're looking at the total package of Eric Comrie and what he's done over the last few years here. He has been very reliable. Didn't get a lot of run support a few years ago, but he can't control that. So, but him being who he is and continuing to do that is what the Winnipeg Jets need.
Yeah, he listen. I mean, just an amazing game from him last night. I mean, the saves that he had to make, particularly early on when that game could have gotten away on the Winnipeg Jets, was exactly what the team needed. And the way he stepped up, I mean, you'd hope that there's some other players that have it in them to similarly step up, because I'm sure when you look at this team right now, outside of what the top line is doing offensively, and some great moments for Josh Morrissey, although not entirely. I mean, we talked about the second goal that went in. I mean, this is just a team that is been in one of those funks, and it's been really interesting to watch Coach Arneal handle this. Guy that knows this group incredibly well. I mean, went through all of last season with them and seen them build through his time with Rick Bowness. Kind of really bluntly calling them out, saying a bunch of guys didn't show up in the Carolina game, and then being almost despondent after the Buffalo game with just how poor of a performance they had, really from top to bottom. I mean, these when you get into these slumps, and we talk about a cold streak, I mean, this is damn near hypothermia for half the team right now. There's an increased stress on probably everyone in the organization, but especially the guys in the room in the middle of a time where they're basically on a plane each and every day, playing a ton of games in a schedule that's taxing them as well, like for the energy that you have to be able to take that next step. Yeah,
there's a lot of things going down, right? Like we've seen, they've basically been on the road for what feels like the better part of a month or 6 weeks, with these long road trips, and everyone's getting pieces of that. Unfortunately, there's no sympathy in hockey. It's all about what you can do and what you have done. So I think it's very important that they just stick to who they are. The good thing is there is a veteran group there that really believes in what they've done and what they can do, and that piece by piece it's going to come. It's not going to be flip the switch tomorrow, we're going to score 10 goals and everything's better. I think you're going to have to see increments of game pieces managing to grow, and then the success will come off of that. And I think it comes with success, and they need to have some success to feel good. But the process has to be there in their preparation, and we all know how prepared these professional athletes are.
Vij, you are a beauty, man. Thanks for doing this. Keep up the great work, getting the boys healthy and get them back in. We won't blame you for injured players, but we know they're in good hands when they're with you. And let's do this again soon, man. All the best to you and the fam at this holiday season.
Thanks a lot. Sounds good, and we'll talk to you soon, Huss.
You got it. There's JP Vigier, the man himself, joining us here on Winnipeg Sports Talk. Tomorrow, obviously, the team is traveling today off, so no updates to the Clean Line lines, but rest assured, tomorrow at 1 p.m., when we fire up the Friday game day edition of Winnipeg Sports Talk before the Jets-Buffalo game, we'll have the latest from the morning skate and all the moves that may or may not happen as it pertains to tomorrow's lineup for the game. Of course, every game day and practice day will update the lines for you, courtesy of our friends at Clean Line Plumbing, Heating, and Electrical. Locally owned and operated and growing for over 40 years, and now the biggest and most reliable residential and commercial plumbing, heating, and electrical company in the city. A proud sponsor of the Winnipeg Jets for years, and now the official plumbing service of the Winnipeg Jets. As you can see, captain approved by our guy Adam Lowry, and they've got you covered like the captain does for his Winnipeg Jets, 24/7, 365 with emergency services whenever you need them. Check out Clean Line at cleanline.ca today and mark that emergency number down for when you need it. Lots going on at Boston Pizza right now. I know the gang with the IC crew and a bunch of our chatters were at BP Taylor last night for a good time. Caught the show afterwards. Boys seemed like they were having a lot of fun. We're going to be at Boston Pizza Kenniston on Wednesday, December 17th. So 2 weeks yesterday for a bit of a holiday party. and a Jets watch party for the Jets and the St. Louis Blues game. So make plans to join us there. And right now, while the holidays are going on, don't forget amazing savings on gift cards. So if you need them for teachers or friends, coaches, or maybe for an entire workplace, get those Boston Pizza gift cards, a $10 free card for every $50 card purchased. If you're doing a big, like an office purchase, they'll give you another 10% on top of that with any purchase over $1,000. So pop by your local BP, take care of the great gift card deals right now for the holiday season, and mark us down for December 17th to join us at BP Kenniston. Big one tonight in all the BP lounges. We're going to get to some NFL with Thomas Tipple right away. Detroit and the Dallas Cowboys in what amounts to a loser leaves town game. The deals keep on rolling at Royal Sports for the holidays. If you've got a young hockey player that needs a new stick or has one on his Christmas list, get on down there. They've extended the stick sale with over $250,000 worth of sticks on the floor, priced up to 50% off right now. Some great deals on Warrior hockey gear and more. And of course, it's much more than the Ultimate Hockey Superstore. You've got the biggest and best snowboard store looking ahead to the winter at Royal Sports, and great deals on the best in athletic gear and fan wear for your Winnipeg Jets, Winnipeg Blue Bombers, NHL, NFL, Major League Baseball, and of course, international soccer, including tons of great Team Canada gear. Don't forget, World Cup Draw happens tomorrow. We'll talk about it on tomorrow's edition of WST. It's all waiting for you at Royal Sports. Take care of that entire list in one spot at the Ultimate Sports Superstore in the Peg, 750 Pembina Highway. Follow them on Instagram at Royal Sports Winnipeg for the latest merchandise drops and sale information. We're going to bring in Thomas Tipple from fantasypoints.com in just a sec. First up, though, a big cheers to our friends at Winnipeg's favorite local brewery, Little Brown Jug.
You train day in and day out, learning new techniques, approaching new concepts, and living out the thrill of achieving your goals. Building a craft beer is no different. While you spend your hours on the ice, we spend ours here, brewing our trademark beer. Again, again, and again. Here's to pushing the status quo and challenging ourselves to build something memorable. 1919 by Little Brown Jug.
All right, let's get ready for this Thursday nighter tonight in Week 14 in the NFL, which is a do-or-die week for many of us when it pertains to the fantasy playoffs. Thomas Tipple from Fantasy Points joins us right now. What's going on, dude? How are you?
Here, as always, had to push yesterday off. That's on me. Bit of a crazy week, but don't worry. Like you said, Thursday night football's on the way.
What's that lid you're wearing?
Oh, this bad boy right here. I am a hat enthusiast, and I recently purchased a lot of minor league baseball hats. Not just minor league baseball hats, minor league alternate hats. So these are like Scranton's alternate minor league baseball. Look, go on Lids and look up some of the minor league baseball hats. They're awesome. I got more here. Like, they're just, how can you go wrong with
the
this?
wrestling mask? That is so cool. I mean, those minor league hats are wild. That just the couple of really good. That must have been the Cinco de Mayo game or something like that for that one that you've got on right now. Big pet peeve. We're in Week 14. This is a do or die game, and we've got teams on buys. From my recollection, I can never remember Week 14 buys before. Is this? Am I just forgetting what happened in the last couple of years, or maybe I wasn't affected for it? This is a big issue in fantasy football.
Yeah, tell me about it. I have so many teams fighting for bye weeks that I don't have enough players to set a lineup for. This is disgusting. You can thank the NFL's greed, right? This is the Week 18. They needed 2 buys, more buys. They're already looking to increase the more games. This is just part of the NFL's greed. Right? It's not ideal.
We're back.
We just have to deal with it. This is a new wrinkle in the game.
Yeah. So listen, if you've been enjoying a great season from Drake May, or you need Jackson Dart or Bryce Young, they're not there for you, and it is. It is dire for a lot of teams that really need it. Let's get to this Thursday nighter tonight.
Sure.
The loser leaves town match in some ways. Basically, I mean, I think there's two this week. The Houston-Kansas City game, you can pretty much write off the team that loses that one. But this one tonight, really intriguing. Detroit's been a little disappointing this year, Thomas. And you've got the resurgent Cowboys, whose offense looks as lethal as any we've seen in the NFL in a while. How do you handicap this one tonight? And who do you think might have big games, both from a fantasy perspective and a prop perspective?
Trading away Parsons, really focusing on the run defense, but it's kind of worked. The Cowboys defense has definitely improved, and not just by a little bit. I think this game is a Cowboys game to lose. Amon-Ra is not playing. He did not practice all week. They call it questionable. I don't see it. And even if he does, I'm not expecting anything. I'm taking the unders. And then, of course, the offensive line here in Detroit is banged up. Ragnow, there was this big, I'm saving the day. Ragnow is coming back. He's not actually coming back. He failed his physical, grade 3 strain, not happening. Kirby Joseph is still out. There's just a lot happening with the Lions. They can't seem to protect inside. And that pans well for the Cowboys. You want to talk about some props. I'm taking the Pickens over. I'm taking the CeeDee Lamb's overs. I will take a Jake Ferguson anytime touchdown. I'm absolutely hammering those. I'm also taking all the Jameson Williams overs. I'm a big Jameson Williams doubter, but we've seen what happens when nobody else on the offense is healthy and can play. It culminated in his first ever 10-target game, his most productive. He had another touchdown on a crossing route that he actually dropped. Easy walk-in for him for more. I think this game could shoot out, probably will shoot out. Although it is a Thursday game, you're taking a lot of risk. But hey, we hit on those props last week. I think we went 70% on those props from last week. So I'm willing to buy in again. Again, taking the overs for Pickens. And look, he had a tough matchup. He went 6 for 88 receiving, 13 targets, 33% target share. He also scored a 2-point conversion to boost up that fantasy points. He's had 57 plus receiving yards and 12 plus fantasy points games in 11 consecutive games since the season opener. No one else in the league is touching that at the wide receiver position. Just an absolute smash of a play. Javonte Williams, though, the receptions have faded a little bit, but he's still getting there on the ground. 15 plus carries in 4 straight contests. He's found pay dirt 10 times in 12 games. He's just absolutely producing in fantasy. I'm looking for Jahmyr Gibbs. I'm looking for Jameson Williams. If you're looking for a combo play for a parlay, stacking those with the 3 mainstay Cowboys.
Yeah, I'm putting something together that we'll get to in the cool bet lines, but I'm thinking Jahmyr Gibbs over 4.5 catches, Pickens over 5.5. I'm going to take Jameson Williams long reception over 28.5.
Oh yes, yeah.
And I am also going to take the Cowboys plus 3.5. I mean, any just thoughts on the actual result of the game? I mean, I could see Dallas winning this game outright. I certainly think they'll be in it to the end, and very likely a close game, so I'm taking the points.
Yeah, honestly, you nailed it. That's a good bet slip.
All right, well, we'll put that up. It's in the Cool Bet exclusives. We'll get that on. Quickly to Sunday's games.
Yes.
When you were looking, I mean, this kind of has fantasy applications, and for people that their season's already blown up due to injuries or poor management or whatever, you can also like these guys maybe on the prop options at Cool Bet or your favorite book. What anything popping on the weekend that you already have circled on the card that people would want to know?
Oh, if we're talking about the betting cycle, do I ever? Baker Mayfield under 224.5 passing yards is minus 110 over at Bet365. We have him projected for 208. This is a little bit risky. He's posted 194 or fewer yards in 4 of his last 5 games, including 152 on 24 attempts versus a lowly New Orleans defense. New Orleans deployed the 4th highest rate at cover 3, 40.8%. He averages 6.08 yards per attempt with a negative 5.2 completion percentage over expectations. Completion percentage is a rough stat to judge a quarterback's performance on because there are so many things, but the over expected one is what we need to follow. And it is just not good in that situation. So I'm definitely taking the Baker Mayfield under. I'm not a big under guy, but this one I feel really good with. Let's talk about something a little more exciting. Let's talk about an over because we want to hit the overs. Devon Achane feels like free money. 76.5 rushing yards, negative 110 at Bet365. We have him projected for 103.9. He could get those 76 rushing yards on 3 touches. He's so unbelievably good. 120 plus yards in 3 straight games. 82 plus yards in 5 of his last 7. Third in the league in yards per carry at a 5.56 clip. Yards before contact, which is a huge stat. Before he's even getting hit, he's averaging 3.06 rushing yards. That's insane, especially when you tag that with his 9.7% explosive run rate. Just the best in the league in that. He's undersized, maybe. Explosive, undoubtedly. I'm taking the over at 76.5 rushing yards. And I've got one just for you, Huss. Sunday Night Football, Rashee Rice. The line, 66.5 receiving yards at negative 110 at Bet365. We have him projected for 83.5, 80 plus yards in 4 of his 6 games. Houston deploys cover 3, 32.9%. What did we talk about with the Cowboys last week? They refused to get out of zone. What does Rashee Rice absolutely destroy? It's zone. Houston also plays cover 4 at 21.4%. And it's a 54.3% clip. He averages a team best 2.79 yards per route run and a 0.3 target per route run on 77 routes versus those. Coverage, 43% of his routes from the slot, and Houston gives up the 10th most receiving yards per game, 78.3 to that position. 10th most yards per route run as well at 1.87 to receivers. In the alignment, bet to 73.5 yards. I am making those bets now. You're going to have to check the line. That was on December 3rd. That line could have moved, but I'm expecting a big game in a must-win game versus a tough defense that pressures the quarterback relentlessly. Ball's going to come out early, Huss. That one's for you. We've got the rush over.
I love it, dude. And you know what? I will go back to the lines. We'll see where things are at, certainly with our friends over at CoolBet, and we'll get into those tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. Pat and Jake will join me for WST winners on the channel. Enjoy this game tonight. It should be a beauty. We've got a couple great primetime games, some big-time matchups in the league, and a lot of stress for fantasy owners everywhere going into Week 14. Thomas, as always, keep up the great work at fantasypoints.com, and we'll talk to you next week, pal.
We will see you guys next time. Thanks for having me, as always.
You got it. All right, there's our pal Thomas Tipple. All right, we do have to get to the CoolBet lines, but we'll bring Remo in here. I want to get to the Chuds Power Sports Power Poll for the National Hockey League this week. We'll do NFL tomorrow. And, of course, Liz and Connor always cook up a fun one for Chuds Power Sports on WST Sunday Live. Make sure to check that out Sunday morning, 9 a.m. And they'll have lots to talk about coming out of Saturday night's game in Edmonton for your Winnipeg Jets. But the Chuds Power Sports, of course, powered by Manitoba's #1 power sports superstore for 80 years. Chuds Power Sports up in Gimli. Check them out online at chudspowersports.com. as we get ready for the holiday season and, of course, snowmobile season just around the corner. All right, I'm not changing the top 3 teams on the power poll, and bad news for us, they're all in the Central Division. The undisputed #1 team in the league is the Colorado Avalanche. They continue to maul competition by multiple goals nightly in the league. We've been just blindly betting them on the puck line, and I think won 9 of the last 11 right now. 1 regulation loss. Goes without saying, they're the #1 team in the league. And to be perfectly honest, the Dallas Stars are not far off right now. We're going to see them in person here in Winnipeg next Tuesday against the Winnipeg Jets. And despite Thomas Harley being out, Seguin now out for the season, Matt Duchene's been out, they just continue to keep on rolling. Dallas, #2 at 18-5-5. And listen, the Minnesota Wild just simply don't give up goals. Jesper Wallstedt has been phenomenal this year. He's 8-0-2, has shutouts in 4 of his last 6 games, and is pushing a .945 save percentage right now. The Wild have figured it out. They're playing great team defense. Their goalies are standing tall, much like they did against the Oilers 2 nights ago. Sometimes they only need 1 goal to win. Minnesota rounds out the top 3, all in the Central Division. And for the 4 and 5 teams, we go to the East. The Washington Capitals have now won, I believe, 9 of 10 after their smashing of the Sharks last night. Was on the wrong side of that one. Washington 17-9-2. Oh, they'll also be in Winnipeg next Saturday, this Saturday on the December 13th to see Alex Ovechkin and his lone visit to Winnipeg this year. And, the Carolina Hurricanes are right on the edge, but I'm giving the number 5 team to the Tampa Bay Lightning. And the Lightning had a really poor start to the season. Much like the Minnesota Wild, though, after about the first 8-9 games of the year, they have been absolutely rolling right now. They're 16-8-2 and very comfortably in the mix around the top of the Eastern Conference. So Washington and Tampa round out the Chuds power poll. But Remis, as we've been saying for a while, the Central Division is a real tough neighborhood right now, and these 3 teams are letting everybody know around the league on a nightly basis.
Man, they don't lose. You look at Colorado, this record absolutely absurd, 19-1-6, and you look at goal differential in the league, they're plus 50. The next closest is Washington at plus 27, and that gap's a bit closer than it was last week. So Colorado, they're blowing everyone out. They've got the best player in the league, Nathan McKinnon. They've got the best defenseman, Cale Makar. Goaltending has been solidified since the Forgiev days with the Woods, Wedgwood, and Blackwood.
Forgiev.
Remember Forgiev?
Of course.
And so I think they're in a really good spot there. Brent Burns giving some nice veteran stability there on the defense. I like what they've done in Colorado. So you don't want to run into them. However, it is December 4. We'll see if they can keep this pace going the full season. They have a lot of guys at the Olympics. And how will the Olympic break affect some of these teams? How are we going to come back? We saw last year, St. Louis found a way to turn it on after the 4 Nations break. How is the schedule going to go? So fascinating this season with the compressed schedule, the break, and coming back. So it's not, we're only the first 26 games here, but Colorado, they're hot.
I mean, just looking at that Chuds Power Sports power poll, in the next 2 weeks, the Jets are going to see 3 of those teams. Dallas next Tuesday, Washington next Saturday, and then on the road Friday, December 19th in Denver against the Avalanche. Big test coming up for the Winnipeg Jets. Tomorrow, though, it's the Buffalo Sabres. Don't forget an early start tomorrow, 6 p.m. It's not the normal 7 o'clock start. I had no idea. I often don't look. I just assume it's a 7 o'clock start. So I just found out this morning. We'll let you know all that. If you're going to the game tomorrow making plans, the puck drops at 6, not the normal 7 o'clock time. Perfect segue over into our Cool Bet lines. And now listen, if you missed the show yesterday, Pat's going to jump on tomorrow on the program. And of course, Pat and Jake will be with me 10 a.m. We'll get into our NFL picks and have some fun on WST winners tomorrow at 10 a.m. right here on the channel. But we announced yesterday, and if you missed it, especially for folks that enjoy poker or played in our WST poker tourneys, we have an incredible promo for you coming up. Many of you recall, last year, I went for a week to Costa Rica for the Costa Rica Poker Open. Well, we've teamed up with CoolBet. We're doing it again. I'm bringing 3-time champion Jeff Hamilton of the Winnipeg Free Press. We'll do some fun content down there for CoolBet and WST. But we've got an opportunity for one of you to join us in Costa Rica. This is how it's working. We've got a regularly scheduled tournament next Wednesday, 8 p.m., December 10th. We've added 2 more tourneys in the next month. Monday, December 22nd, and the last chance qualifier is Wednesday, January 7th. It'll be the normal tournament that we do, the $30 buy-in, all the money goes into the pot and is paid out to the top winners. But in addition, the top 3 finishers in all 3 of those tourneys will win a ticket to the finals January 12th, where the last man standing in the poker tourney will be joining us in Costa Rica for the Costa Rica Poker Festival. Airfare, flights in the beautiful Sheraton San Jose, and your buy-in, $550 USD for the main event. I was just looking back to some pictures and video from the trip last year. The total prize pool for the tournament was over $285,000 US. So there's some big money to be made and certainly some good times to be had. So even if you haven't played with us before, now's the time to do it. Just make sure you have a CoolBet account. And instead of going to the sports book, you click on poker, go into tournaments, and then you can search WST. We'll probably have that up at some point next week, but mark the dates down. December 10, December 22, January 7, top 3 in all those tourneys will win tickets to the final on January 12th, and wish you all luck. Hopefully one of you WSTers will be joining us for an amazing week down in Costa Rica for some good times and some high-stakes poker, courtesy of our friends at CoolBet. And you'll get a chance to see how the CoolBet crew from all around the world do it up. It'll be a heck of a great time. All right, we've got Thursday night football, big one tonight. And it's been interesting. This line has moved a little bit. We were doing Lock Shop earlier. I saw it at 3. Dusty said in Alberta it was at 4. Well, now it's at 3.5. And this is a number I can get behind the Dallas Cowboys at a lot more than the 3. Listen, I think Dallas could win this game straight up. They're plus 158 on the money line. Detroit's minus 172. 3.5's a lot to lay for Detroit. I mean, listen, they've been playing real close games, and the bottom line is Dallas is going to get theirs offensively. They are looking real, real good right now. I'm liking Dallas at plus 3.5, and I put together a special parlay for tonight, and I just laid this out with Thomas Tipple, but this is what we're looking for. Jahmyr Gibbs, 5 receptions or more. Pickens, 6 receptions or more. Jameson Williams, 28 yards or more for his long reception, and the Cowboys plus 3.5. That is boosted to 6-1, plus 600. It is in the exclusives tab under the Winnipeg Sports Talk Parlay. So we've got that up right there. And as far as the National Hockey League goes tonight, here are our games. We got the Blues. I don't know why the Blues. I guess Boston must have played last night. Blues minus 135 favorites in Boston against the Bruins. Bruins plus 115. Blue Jackets a short minus 122 favorite at home against the Wings. The Panthers, the last place Panthers, also 2-time defending Stanley Cup champions, minus 182 at home against the Nashville Predators. Avalanche on the road in Long Island to take on the Islanders. Avalanche minus 189. Puck line for that one, the auto bet, plus 130 for Avalanche to win by 2. Ottawa's back at home coming off that win 2 nights ago against Montreal. Minus 133 favorites against the New York Rangers. We got the Lightning minus 159 faves against the Pittsburgh Penguins. Nick Ehlers and the Hurricanes host the Maple Leafs coming off their big win against the Panthers in South Florida. Carolina minus 208. A little later on, Minnesota continues their trip out to Western Canada. They're in Calgary to take on the Flames. Minnesota minus 122 favorites. Pretty short number on Minnesota, all things considered. And the Oilers are at home to the Kraken, minus 208 for Edmonton. Same number for the LA Kings, home to the Blackhawks. And that is the full slate of games tonight in the National Hockey League. If you haven't played a CoolBet before, use the promo code WST on your first deposit. We'll give you a 100% bonus, up to $200 on that first deposit. Remo, where are you at on this Thursday nighter tonight? The loser leaves town match in the NFC playoff picture.
I'm with you, and I do like all the props that you guys mentioned. You and Thomas there. Pickens, Jameson Williams. So I'm into this parlay that you did. So
yes, it's 6-1. It's in the exclusives right now. I've already bet it. So if you want to ride, that is where to do it. The guys always give us a nice boost. This should be a really, really fun game. I'm not sure how much I'm going to get to watch of it, at least early. Doing my duties at the Hockey Helps the Homeless event tonight, but we'll be paying attention to it. Keep the tabs on the score and on the Score app, and hopefully be able to catch up at least the second half. Of course, we're going to be out of Bell's Kitchen tonight. Should be a great place for the evening before the big tournament. And again, shout out to everyone supporting Hockey Helps the Homeless, especially the women's teams. I know it's going to be Bailey Bram and Megan Dufault who will be the pros that'll be playing with the women's teams. And the one thing that stands out, and I don't know, I've done this probably for about 5 years now, the support from Winnipeg women for Hockey Helps the Homeless dwarfs everywhere else in the country, kind of like Burger Week. So to all of the women that continue to step up and really raise the bar for support of Hockey Helps the Homeless, very well done. Looking forward to seeing all of you tonight. And tomorrow, should be very interesting. Morning skate's happening at the normal time. It's not an hour earlier, despite the game being an hour earlier. And with the team off today, I'm very intrigued to see what this lineup looks like, whether the lines are the same, whether in the coaches' minds they did enough to give that look one more game before, as Arnie said after the Buffalo Sabres game, everything is on the table.
Yeah, sorry. Tomorrow is at 9:30 morning skate.
Sorry. They did move it. Okay, sorry. I must have read that wrong.
Yeah, they confirmed the 9:30 morning skate. So we'll have some info. Curious what they're going to do for the goaltending on this back-to-back. Eric Comrie had a really good game. Did they go right back to him on the first one and throw the rookie, Thomas Milic, to McDavid and Draisaitl? Edmonton struggled, but Buffalo just lit up Eric Comrie where he was pulled. I'm curious how they're going to sort this out. I think the lineup's going to stay the same. I can't imagine any changes, but I guess we'll find out tomorrow when they hit the ice at Canada Life Center for the morning skate. We'll be tuning in. O'Connor will be there.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll have full game preview and the latest from the morning skate with Connor Rabchak. Maybe we'll get him to jump on. We'll certainly have our game day set up, which is another reason to follow Winnipeg Sports Talk on all of the socials and at Sports Talk WPG. The next couple of days are going to be very interesting. At home against Buffalo and then right out to Edmonton to take on the Oilers, who will be off on Friday and who have had a very rough start to the season. They're dead even at NHL 500, which is a pace for 82 points, which is not a neighborhood you want to be in right now. Listen, lots to get to from last night's game, as we've been talking about all night or all day today on the program. Not the result they wanted, but not the worst case scenario. So is that just a push? You basically just do it again? I kind of feel like that's what's going to happen. But there should be a lot of prideful players in that locker room looking to be a hell of a lot better in front of the home fans, considering what we all witnessed on Monday night against this same Buffalo Sabres team. Sabres, after winning 2 in a row, once again got worked last night by the Philadelphia Flyers. They'll be in the peg, I'm sure, already and getting ready for tomorrow's 6 p.m. start. That is going to do it for us today. Thanks to Thomas Tipple, of course, JP Vigier, Ken Wiebe, and great stuff with Carlo and Colaiacovo earlier in the program. Special shout out to our guy Ken Hotz, if he's listening down in Antarctica, rocking the WST toque, and all of you who've been giving us the latest on where WST ranks on your Spotify's. We always appreciate that. Going to be a fun one tonight. If anyone is out for the Hockey Helps the Homeless at Bell's Kitchen, make sure to say hi. Other than that, we'll have the latest on the Jets from the morning skate and get ready for Jets Sabres, Jets Oilers on the weekend, and much more. Not to mention the World Cup. We'll find out who Canada's playing tomorrow, and we'll hit that on WST as well, starting at 1 p.m. with the marble race to follow to kick off the weekend. For Michael Remis, I'm Andrew Paterson. Have a great night, and we'll see you tomorrow to get ready for Jets Sabres and the weekend on Winnipeg Sports Talk, 1 p.m. tomorrow.
Oh, my God! Oh! Shut it down! Let's go home!
Thanks for tuning in to Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube and your favorite podcast feed at winnipegsportstalk.com.